Hi, folks. It's Paul Ramsey, and I'm joined by Dan LaRosa, who is presenting a 1 hour seminar at the 2017 NGH convention titled ABCs of Success for Hypnotists. You can't beat that. I love it. How are you, Dan?
I'm doing just fine, Paul. Thanks for having me on.
Good to have you here. So, 1 hour. So, anybody who's already paid their registration fee for the convention can just show up at your door and learn about this. Um, Tell me about, before we get into that though, tell me, how did you get into hypnotism?
I started in a band in 1977. We're celebrating 40 years. This band played up and down the East Coast. I was in Virginia Beach, 1981. We had 2 nights off a week from this steady summer gig. And on a Tuesday night, I'll never forget it, there was an ad in the paper. It said, "World's Funniest Hypnotist tonight at Sir Richard's." World's Funniest. Now, back then, hypnosis was not as popular or as well known.
Right.
Put those two words together, funny hypnosis, because my experience had been prior to that, those sleazy men's magazines with ads like hypnotize women,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Well, it didn't work on prom night, so I didn't think it was going to work any other time. And I was like, what the heck is funny hypnosis? That night changed my life. I saw this guy, Sam Vine. Many people, Jerry Valley, for example, credits Sam Vine. I do. I went and saw it, and I was blown away. He would not teach me anything about hypnosis. I asked him. And, believing in the power of the universe, I actually was in a place where I shouldn't have been, a place I normally wouldn't be, a town in Connecticut that my band was going to play at.
Yeah.
I drove all the way down there to deliver posters, which was unusual. We would mail them back in those days.
Yeah.
Picked up a newspaper, 5 pages into it, learned to be a hypnotist. And that's how I learned. I studied with a doctor from India, a psychologist, in
What?
Danbury, Connecticut. And I spent 2 years, and that's how I got into hypnosis therapeutically.
Yeah.
When the band broke up, as we've done several times, 86, I said, one of the club owners said to me, "What are you going to do? You're a pretty lazy guy. What are you going to do?" I said, "Well, I'm going to be a hypnotist." He said, "Good, you'll start in 2 weeks." Well, and I wanted to resist because I didn't think I was ready.
Yeah.
But he turned out to be one of my greatest mentors, and I worked for him for 6 years, every Wednesday night for 6 years. So the fact of the matter is, I tell everybody I've done over 4,000 shows.
Yeah.
In the early days, I was doing 4 nights a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, same club, different nights, different parts of the state.
Yeah.
I did that for 6 years before I broke into the college market and then eventually corporate.
Yeah.
And that's how I got in.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's so great how often when I do these interviews, I ask people how they got in. So many people have just somebody, just one person
One
usually
little thing.
who mentored them, who
Yeah.
showed a little faith in them, and that's
Yes.
always great to hear. That's cool. So let's get into your lot of experience, a lot of years at the convention.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me about the ABCs of success. Is there literally an A, a B, and a C?
There's 26
Oh my goodness.
letters. And in fact, you can go deep into each one. And so it's probably like 60 or 70 things. The reason I started with that is because, like, if I do a convention for accountants, my cell program the next day is ABCs of Success for,
Yeah.
and it's the same material.
Yeah.
Because the idea is that there are certain things. Now, specifically for this particular program, I'm going to break it down to 5 particular things. And it has to do with coaching yourself and also coaching clients. So all of the ideas that are going to come in there are a pattern, a blueprint. If you do this, then you can expect that. And I start with this one basic premise. We have 3 kinds of hypnotists that are involved in our program. The first kind is a hobbyist. Now, I learned it because I think it's interesting. Maybe they occasionally hypnotize folks, but they're not making any money at it. They have another job. Then you have the vocationalist, the person who has another job, but they'd like to help folks, and maybe they see 3 or 4 clients a week. Then you have people who are full-time, yourself, myself, and many others. And they've cut all the ties. They burned the ships at shore. They've come in and they've said, you know what? This is my new career. This is what I love. And I try to work with those people. I when I teach people hypnosis, I teach the ones that want to be at that level. They're ready to do it. So I'm going to talk about the ideas, and there's two parts to what I'm teaching that particular day. I call it show business. The show is what you do, whether it's on stage, one-on-one, workshops, seminars, whatever it is, that's your show. But if you don't follow through the business, that is, how do you reach people and how do you get to them and how do you get them in front of you, then you're going to be a hobbyist. You're not going to make any money. You're going to leave the profession. So I learned a lot from guys like Jerry Valley, but also Don Motton, somebody I respect tremendously. Other folks, Cal Banyan. And I look at these guys who built up these little cottage industries, these empires, really.
Yeah.
And I believe if they can do it, and it's no offense to them because they're bright,
Right.
but they're telling you the same thing. They're saying, here's how I did it.
Yeah.
You do the same thing. And that's what I'm going to try to teach that day.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, I think you just covered it wonderfully, Dan. I feel like to push you any more on it than what you just said would really be to get you into giving away the actual content. I think you just described it so well.
Yeah.
And I think that's it, you guys. Listen, this is why we go to the convention, right? Is because thankfully there are people like Dan who are presenting these exact things, these different ways to get you to think about, do you want to be, I really love, Dan, the way you capture that. Do you want to be a hobbyist, a vocationalist, or a full-on professional? And one isn't better than the other. They're just different, right? And to clarify that for yourself so that when you're at the convention, it helps inform how you spend your time and what you're learning. And that's really great. This is the kind of session that can really help people, especially ones who are newly certified or maybe not even certified yet. So that's great. Dan, give us one quick and easy way. You got an email where if people want to follow up with you, they could email you?
It's a classic. It's danlarosa at AOL.com. Why would you get rid of such a beautiful thing? danlarosa at AOL.com. I answer all. And the one takeaway that I think that people should realize from this is that this is not reinventing the wheel.
Right.
It's not like this is esoteric knowledge. This is secrets that we're not sharing. NGH, very open-minded. I remember when I went to my first convention, I believe it might have been 1986, and I was intimidated by all the greats. Orman McGill was there, and Jerry Valley came up to me and said, welcome, and took me under his wing and became a friend. And a few years later, when I started presenting, I realized that the real benefit of being a part of this organization is that you can learn from the folks who are just a few steps ahead of you on the road or massively ahead of you. Right. They're all willing to sit down and say, look, this is what I did. Here's the blueprint. You have a choice. If you're willing to do this, you can have that. If you don't want to, that's fine too. Get the knowledge at least.
Yep. That's it. He's got it, you guys. Listen, so just to recap, August 13th, that's the Sunday of the convention at noon, ABCs of Success for Hypnotists with Dan LaRosa. Dan, I look forward to seeing you in August.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks very much for today.